Greetings, Woovians. Hooving Queen here. Hope you have a good week so far. Well, as you probably noticed, I have a fizz on my head and I'm wearing a bow tie, which means only one thing. That's right. We're now into the era of the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith, who, by the way, was my first Doctor. Just a little known fact about me, so there you go. Anyway, let's take a look at the beginning of his tenure with the 11th Hour. The story follows immediately on from the ending of the previous episode, The End of Time Part 2, with the newly regenerated 11th Doctor crash landing his TARDIS in the English village of Ledworth. The Doctor leaves the TARDIS to self-repair while the girl Amelia Pond helps him recover. She shows him a crack in her bedroom wall that he recognizes as a tear in space-time, leading to an Atraxi prison. The Atraxi alert him to the escape of Prisoner Zero. Before he can respond, he must take the TARDIS for a short trip to help his repairs, and promises Amelia he will be back in 5 minutes. She packs his suitcase and waits for him. The Doctor returns, unaware 12 years have passed. He is accosted by an older Amelia, now going by Amy, who has been ridiculed by the townsfolk for her fascination with her raggedy doctor. The Doctor sees a door hidden by a perception filter in Amy's home, and finds Prisoner Zero inside. They flee before it attacks. The Atraxi arrive in Earth's orbit and, speaking through all communication devices, demand they turn over Zero or they will destroy the Earth. Searching for Zero, who was able to take the form of any unconscious being that it has telepathically linked to, they run across Amy's boyfriend Rory, who helps spot Zero posing as one of the coma patients in his care. The Doctor directs Amy and Rory to the hospital, while a gate crashes an online meeting of experts discussing the Atraxi warning to give them instructions. Amy and Rory corner Zero at the hospital, and the Doctor arrives as the experts execute his plan, broadcasting Zero to the Atraxi along with the photos of the coma patients from Rory's phone, revealing Zero's identity. Zero shows it as one more form, knocking out Amy and taking the form of Amelia. The Doctor speaks to Amy's subconscious to force Zero to take its native form, allowing the Atraxi to recapture it. Zero warns the Doctor as it is taken away, silence will fall. As the Atraxi leave Earth, the Doctor declares that he is Earth's protector and sternly cautions them not to threaten the planet again. The Doctor returns to the fully repaired TARDIS and leaves without saying goodbye. He rematerializes 2 years later, and while Amy is still bitter over his original disappearance, she agrees to his offer to travel with him. As the TARDIS dematerializes, the viewer is shown Amy's bedroom, where her wedding dress lies. Bum bum bum! So anyway, let's take a look at the production of this episode, beginning with background and casting. The 11th Hour marked several production changes. Stephen Moffat succeeded Russell T Davies as executive producer and head writer. Piers Wenger and Beth Willis replaced Julie Gardner as executive producer. A new logo was incorporated into a new title sequence, with a new variation of the theme tune, composed by Murray Gold. By the end of the 11th Hour, the Doctor has a new sonic screwdriver, and the TARDIS sported a new interior and exterior, similar to the one used from 1963 to 1966. The previous TARDIS interior was shown at the beginning of the 11th Hour. The Time Warner console had to be rebuilt due to the explosive special effects that were used in The End of Time. The End of Time saw the end of David Tennant's tenure of the Doctor and his regeneration in Matt Smith. Moffat was originally looking to cast a middle-aged actor, but he and Wenger went with the 26-year-old Smith and what they considered an easy decision. Karen Gillan was cast as the Doctor's new companion, Amy Pond. She had previously appeared in the 4th series episode, The Fires of Pompeii, and was suggested to Moffat by casting director Andy Pryor. Gillan auditioned for the role in both her natural Scottish and English accents. Only after Gillan was cast was Amy made Scottish. Young Amy, known as Amelia, was played by Karen Gillan's real-life cousin, Caitlin Blackwood. Though Gillan recommended Blackwood, the young actor first had to undergo rigorous auditions, like any formal acting experience. The 11th Hour was also the debut of Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams, who became a regular in the 6th series. Moffat stated that what stood out about Darvill's audition was just how funny he was. EastEnders star Nina Wadia was chosen for the part of the doctor at the Ledworth Hospital. Wadia speculated that she was cast because she had worked with Adam Smith before. Patrick Moore appears as himself in the video conference with a brief speaking part, though not all his lines survived the final cut. The man above Moore is the brother of Adam Smith. Marcello Magni, who played him at Prisoner Zero impersonates that barks like his dog, had also worked as a canine impersonator. Academy Award-winning actor Olivia Colman and the Umbrella Academy star Tom Hopper made pre-stardom appearances in small roles as one of Prisoner Zero's forms and Jeff, respectively. Arthur Cox, who played Mr. Henderson, previously played Collie in The Dominators in 1968. And now on to the writing. The title of the episode is a play on words, referring to both the introduction of the 11th Doctor and to the fact that he was nearly too late, the connotation of the phrase. In the DVD commentary, Moffat said it was originally titled The Doctor Returns, and that it was the most difficult script he had ever written, as he had to introduce a new Doctor, a new companion, convince the audience that it was both a new and an old show, and deliver a fast-paced story. While traditionally the Doctor rests after he regenerates, Moffat thought it would be fun to make him save the world instead. He described it as a comedy of a man whose day keeps getting worse and worse. Believing that London and companions from London had become a cliché and the audience had become bored with it, Moffat set the episode in the fictional village of Ledworth. Moffat, a Scot, debated whether to locate the episode in a village in Scotland. He ultimately decided on England, in keeping with the notion of Amelia as an unconventional girl. Throughout the episode, the Doctor behaves erratically, as he gradually gets used to his new body and tastes while developing a new personality. Will states that he finally clicks into place after picking out his new outfit. The rooftop scene was not in the original script. The Doctor simply ran away from the ward and returned to the TARDIS. Moffat felt that he did not really have a formal introduction, and that could be made more of the costume, as many previous Doctors had picked theirs out quietly. The main story arc is the Doctor meeting the grown-up Amy. Moffat felt that over time the relationships between the Doctor and his companions had become too adult. He wanted to create a childlike relationship like that between Peter Pan and Wendy, rather than boyfriend and girlfriend. He believed this was the kind of relationship viewers had with the Doctor, regardless of their age. When the Doctor returns for Amy, she is a very different person from the 7-year-old he had met before. Moffat explains that she developed a tough element and had become distrustful and cynical due to him not returning as promised, forcing her to accept that he was an imaginary friend. Rory was completely in love with Amy, but Amy wanted adventures before admitting she loved him too. Moffat described Rory as someone who had grown up in the shadow of Amy's imaginary Doctor. Moffat was inspired by a crack in his son's bedroom wall and developed the idea into the main story arc for the 5th series. He thought that a child might think that something interesting lived inside such a crack. The hidden room in Amelia's house was based on Moffat's recurring childhood dream of a non-existent hidden room in his grandmother's house. Moffat was keen to give the monster a giant eyeball, and commented that the Atraxi's design, a giant eyeball on a star, was easy for children to draw, as he used to draw Doctor Who monsters as a child. These aspects reflect Doctor Who's domestically scaled menace principle. Moffat wrote a scene that explained Prisoner Zero's crime, but cut it because he figured no one would care. The opening sequence, in which Doctor barely hangs onto the crashing TARDIS as it flies over London, was later added to the script to bridge the conclusion from the end of time to the TARDIS's crash into Amy's garden. Moffat thought it would be funny if they showed him hanging out of the TARDIS and nearly crashing into London, which would start an episode set in a small town in a big way. Moffat also referenced a scene from A.A. Mills' The House at Pooh Corner, where Dicker claims to like everything, but then proceeds to reject all food offered to him until he finally finds that he likes extract of malt. Moffat's variant had the newly regenerated Doctor reject a variety of foods, with the exception of fish fingers and custard, offered to him by the young Amy. Moffat felt that appealing to children was important to the show's success. The scene where the Doctor creates the virus using Jeff's laptop was originally set in a classroom where the Doctor used the students' computers. This was changed for production reasons. In the episode, the Doctor snaps his fingers to open the TARDIS, a trick his previous incarnation learned from River's song in Silence of the Library and Forest of the Dead. He also repeats the lines wibbly wobbly timey wimey and some cowboys in here for the Moffat-written episodes Blink and The Girl in the Fireplace. And now finally, filming and effects. The read-through for this episode took place in September 2009. Though was the first episode of the series, the 11th Hour was not the first to be shot. It was filmed in the third production block after the completion of episodes 2 through 5. As Smith was aware of how his Doctor would act in the following episodes, he used this one to establish the character. The plan was to retain traces of Smith's predecessor, but the executive producers wanted Smith to be stranger. The episode was directed by Adam Smith, who was attracted to the brilliant script and working with Matt Smith after seeing him on stage. Smith was asked to direct the same but make it a bit different. The producers didn't want it to be radically different, but they did want it to be different. The goal was to make it more cinematic and magical, and Smith took inspiration from E.T. and Tim Burton's work. Amelia's house was designed to appear spooky but ordinary and reminiscent of a castle. Most scenes based in Letchworth were filmed at Llandaff Village in Cardiff on September 29th, October 5th through 7th, and November 20th, 2009. Photographs were taken on October 5th for the stop frame animation sequence representing the Doctor's thought process. As the stills were taken by members of the crew, not computers, the result was not perfect, which Adam Smith thought provided an organic feel. Plagued by torrential rain, the crew returned on November 20th to shoot the final Letchworth scenes. The production crew heavily dressed the area, adding flowers, street signs, and souvenirs specific to Letchworth. The Doctor hanging out of the TARDIS was filmed with Smith in front of a green screen, while the area footage of London was achieved with a helicopter. Smith stated that the scene was hard to visualize as it relied heavily on computer-generated images. Nearly every scene in the sequence is a visual effects shot, including a 3D TARDIS flying over London and a CG Doctor hanging out of the TARDIS in the aerial shots. Moffat realized that the Millennium Dome was visible in the final footage, so the scene could not be set in 1996 before it had been built. Instead of a reshoot, Moffat explained that the TARDIS could be just about to go back in time and materialize in Amelia's garden. In post-production, 30 tracks of sound effects, music composed by Murray Gold specifically for the sequence, and Smith's grunting and groaning were added. The primarily musical-led sequence was produced by Nikki Wilson, who receives a special thanks credit. While Amelia waits for the Doctor in the garden, the camera returns to her house where something, presumably Prisoner Zero, darts past the camera. It is actually Smith and footage intended for the finale, The Big Bang, but when it did not fit into that episode, it was recycled here. Originally, the scene where the Doctor confirms that he is the man she remembers by showing her the apple she gave him that day was cut due to pacing issues and the fact that it had been established in a previous scene. The previous scene was then cut and the apple scene returned. Due to the rain, the scene where the Doctor tries to gain the Atraxi's attention with a sonic screwdriver had to be simplified. Adam Smith based the style of the confrontation on a Western film. The destruction of the sonic screwdriver shortly after was achieved by a spark effect concealed inside the screwdriver, activated by an electrical charge that reached the screwdriver by an electrical wire that ran up Smith's sleeve and connected to a receiver. Special effects head Denny Hargreaves then used a remote control to activate the device. Contrary to reports, the effect did not injure Smith. The fish fingers and custard scene was shot in 12 takes. Holy cow! The fish fingers were actually a breaded coconut-flavored food item. Smith estimated that he had eaten some 14 of them. Ugh, yikes. So, yeah. But anyway, overall, as an introduction to Matt Smith's tenure as a Doctor, this episode is really great, and I highly recommend it a lot. So, yeah. But anyway, so overall, I give The 11th Hour 5 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Well, tune in next time as we take a look at the Dr. Namie's first adventure, The Beast Below. Well, hope you all enjoyed that review, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it around, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon to be notified about when I upload videos, and if it helps support the channel further, be sure to check out my Patreon page. Link, as always, is in the description below. Well, until next time, this is Hoovy and Queen saying, "Oh my giddy aunt!" When I say run, run! I've respirated the neutron flow. Would you like a jelly baby? Fantastic! Allons-y! Geronimo! Bow ties are cool, fezzes are cool, and Stetsons are cool.